A 4-1 victory for Newcastle United yesterday saw them beat PSG at home in the Champions League. Their first game back at St James's Park in a very, very long time in the Champions League. And it's a massive result, massive result. There's question marks around PSG and there's massive, massive praise and deserved praise towards Newcastle United because I think for Newcastle fans, being in the group of death, Group F is the group. And I think you're looking at that as Newcastle fans going, oh, for God's sake, our first ever, time back in the Champions League for a very, very long time. And we've got Dortmund, AC Milan, PSG, three tough opponents and three grounds that you got to go to, which is so tough. And they obviously start the campaign off in the Champions League against AC Milan, which was a draw away from home at the San Siro. And I think a lot of people did question whether Newcastle were actually ready for the Champions League. Maybe it was a year too early. But I think you got to remember that the San Siro is such an intimidating place to go. And especially, most of those players have never played in the Champions League before. So for those players to go straight into it at the San Siro, one of the most just one of the most intimidating atmospheres, the biggest ground, that just everything to do with that fixture is absolutely mega. And to get a draw out of that game, although AC Milan pretty much did dominate the game, they looked the better side, to come away from home and with a point is something to be more than happy with. And going at home to Newcastle, and we know Newcastle are going to be up for it. The fans, at every single point in that game, all you could hear was the fans just singing, always backing the side. And in the end, it was enough support to see Newcastle win 4-1. And I thought Newcastle played extraordinarily well. Every single ball that was there to be won, they chased it. They were chasing it like their life depended on it. And as a coach, when you speak to your players, one of the things you want to say to them is leave everything out on that pitch. Even if you lose 4, 5, 6-0 against this PSG side, just leave everything out there on the pitch. Fight for the badge. And that is exactly what Newcastle did. And that's what you need to do against these sides, against a PSG who are practically backed by Qatar, a whole country. And yes, Newcastle now have this new backing and it's allowed them to splash the cash a bit more, but it's not like Newcastle have splashed the cash to the point of Manchester City when they first got their money and they're spending all their money on like Robinho and all these sort of players. It's like, whoa, they never had this amount of money before. Like, where's this all coming from? But the size of Newcastle, it's almost like, yeah, they can spend this money. They are a big club already, and they're spending the amount of money that they should have been spending in the first place when they had Mike Ashley there. And these new owners have been able to back Eddie Howe and just put this whole kind of new culture and this new belief into the side to go out and spend these players and get these top talents like a Bruno Gomes, who by the way was absolutely unbelievable yesterday. Tonali as well, who's a top midfielder in Europe, and the fact that he was at AC Milan and he probably could have went anywhere else in the Premier League, in Spain, Germany, and he went to Newcastle. And the whole thing with Tonali going, oh, he doesn't want to leave, blah, blah, blah. But he's been excellent. He's been excellent for Newcastle, and it's amazing to see. It's what football. It's why we all love football. It's such a simple, beautiful game, just full of memories. And that day, Newcastle absolutely cherished to the end of days. And that they're top of the group now. They're now top of the group, so they're effectively in control. But of course, there's still more games to come. They've still got to go to Dortmund. They've still got to go to PSG, and they of course have AC Milan at home. And they've still got to still got to play to Dortmund twice. So 4 games, and they're going to be difficult. Just because they beat PSG today doesn't mean they're going to go through. But I think don't forget about going to Newcastle. It's cold, it's far, it's one of those intimidating atmospheres anyway for any club to go to, and I think PSG really suffered from that. And someone like Mbappe didn't really look at it today. I felt Newcastle defended really, really well. They had a few chances, and that one in the first half by Dembele. I think if that goal goes in by Dembele right at the start of the game, and PSG go 1-0 up, I think it's a very different game because Newcastle now got to, they're going to be wide-eyed. Do we push? Do we defend? Do we hold on, play on the counter? But it allowed Newcastle to have that chance, and they kind of got away with it from that, and they just built confidence off from that, and then they got the goal, and now you've got that goal from Amron. So a couple of great saves from Donnarumma as well. I thought he actually played decent, had a decent game, but from that one goal, you've now got the whole fan base behind you, and then it goes 2-0, and then it goes 3-0. And do you know what is amazing to see, which is why football creates so many great memories for people, is someone like Dan Burn, who isn't the most world-class, the best defender in the world, but the fact that he was able to score a Newcastle boy as well, and same with Sean Longstaff as well, both of them getting onto the score sheet. It's like it's like the Mourinho quote. It's football heritage, and it's just absolutely beautiful. And I'm an Arsenal fan, but I think there's times when you've got to appreciate and give credit to other teams for doing the job and doing what they needed to do. And that's exactly what I'm going to be doing. And fair play to Newcastle fans, cherish it, cherish this moment, because it was only a couple of years ago you was in the Championship playing against some random teams, you know what I mean? You was playing against Hull, Cardiff, Rotherham, Millwall. You're going to all these grounds, and now you're off to the San Siro, the Signal Iduna Park, and winning at home against PSG, and absolutely amazing. And this is what the Champions League is for. The Champions League is for these moments. And for Newcastle fans, I think if they get knocked out of the group, say they finish bottom, I think they'll happily finish bottom, finish third, and go, do you know what? Remember that night when we beat PSG 4-1 at home? They're the moments that are going to stick to them forever. And I think going into this game, you're thinking, PSG are going to batter Newcastle. Just the pace, just the intensity and the experience that PSG have. It was all the opposite. It looked like Newcastle was the experienced side and the great team that PSG are meant to be. And that PSG side isn't the same PSG anymore, is it? You've got Neymar gone, Messi gone, Verratti's now gone, I believe, as well. So a lot of that team has now shifted on, and they just don't look like the same PSG they was before and what they were meant to be. And it's incredible to see this from Newcastle, and it now puts them on the map. It's one of those games, one of those victories where everyone's not going to pay attention to PSG, to Newcastle, and Newcastle have landed. They are now in Europe, and it's something that they are here to stay. And it's a statement for them to, they can beat PSG, they can beat anyone. That's going to be the belief, and you can tell they're just going to chuck everything out into this Champions League, and it's amazing. And it's a video I had to do just to speak and just to give credit to Newcastle, and it's just unbelievable to see, and it's what football brings you, these sort of moments, and you don't know how long these moments are going to last within the Champions League. Obviously, Arsenal, we haven't been in the Champions League for 6-7 years, so now the fact that we're in the Champions League now, I'm trying to cherish the little bits of it. And with Newcastle, you're quite lucky to be here, because a couple of years ago you wasn't nowhere near. If someone showed Newcastle 6-7 years ago when it was down in the Championship that they were beating PSG at home in the Champions League, they would have laughed at you. They would have honestly laughed at you. And just cherish this moment, because you don't know when this moment's going to happen again. You don't know if the rest of these games you're going to get backed by all the teams, and you're going to come back next year, for example, in the Champions League, and the same may happen again. So it's one of those moments that will just cherish this moment and just rein it in, and it's incredible. It's incredible to see. And the thing is, when you hear about PSG were beat today, and you think of PSG, go, wow, like they spent all this money, they have all these great players, the Hakimis, the Mbappes, the Dembélés, all these great players, and you go and look. You have to go and look and go, Newcastle, okay, Newcastle, and people start paying attention to you now. It's like kind of similar to when Sheriff beat Real Madrid. It was either away or home, away. It was either at home or away. was it for Sheriff? And this, where are they from? Like Romania or something like that? Or I don't even know what part of Romania they're from. I think they're from the place that is a country but isn't a country sort of thing. Politics, let's move away from that. But it's one of those where he goes, oh, Real Madrid were beaten. Oh, well, I got to go and check that. And now everyone knows who Sheriff are, and it's now going to be similar for Newcastle. And incredible, absolutely incredible to see. And I hope Newcastle get better for the rest of these games. I don't want to see them progress or anything like that. I only want Arsenal to do well, obviously, but got good credit where credit's due. And this channel is about being as unbiased as possible. And here's me giving the credit that is needed. And fair play to Newcastle. Cherish this moment and enjoy it, because it sure is a good one. And seeing the result as well, just because think of this, we're football fans before we are fans of the club, sort of thing. It's the same with Formula One. I'm a fan of Formula One before I'm a fan of Lewis. And it's just one of those moments where you go, wow, just wow, you know. Even if it's for a couple of seconds, you just think, wow, Newcastle beating PSG. Even if you don't like PSG, even if you don't like Newcastle, it's just absolutely amazing. And yeah, well, Newcastle now got to go away to West Ham on Sunday, so another difficult fixture. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, West Ham play in the Europa League today. So I guess Newcastle, they're going to be on a massive flow from this. This is something that for Newcastle's confidence is going to be absolutely huge. As we know, momentum in football and that belief, it's so important. So to think, well, we've beaten PSG, we can go and beat anyone, and it just helps settle the nerves and and puts more confidence into those players. And I think it's another thing to say well done to Eddie Howe, because you still go into that squad and you've got Jacob Murphy coming on off the bench. You've got Sean Longstaff, you've got Joelinton, who's flop of one of the biggest flops in the Premier League that's ever seen, and now a massive turnaround he's had. And Almiron was woeful before Eddie Howe came in, and I think there's got to be massive credit given to Eddie Howe and his team. And on paper, that team isn't great, and you look at sides like Manchester United, who are doing a lot worse than Newcastle at the moment. Look at Chelsea as well, and on paper they have better squads, but Eddie Howe is able to get the best out of those players, and he's improved those players. Someone like Joelinton, for example, one of the best box-to-box midfielders in the Premier League, and massive credit to Eddie Howe and his management team. Massive credit to the players. Massive credit has to go towards the fans who have stuck by this Newcastle team for this long and seen them play the rubbish football under Steve Bruce, McLaren was it, and Alan Pardew, all these guys. And yeah, I guess you kind of, you waited, and it was worth it in the end, I guess. But leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Newcastle fans, please tell me what you thought of that game, and if you was there, how was it? Because the atmosphere was mental. I was watching a clip of I think it was the CBS, I think with Jamie Carragher and stuff, Thierry Henry and whatever. And I think they were speaking at the start of the game. I think they were speaking to someone about Greg's or whatever, which was a funny clip. But I could barely hear them speak, because the crowd was just so loud. They were so loud at every single point, and you could tell they were just up for it. And yeah, absolutely amazing. And I had to just come on here and give my thoughts, and give me your thoughts in the comments down below. Make sure you like and subscribe for more stuff like this, and I will see you guys on the next one. Take care. Peace.